Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It is I, your host, Mr. Sean, here today with one of my favorite RPG stories. But before we get to that, let me tell you about something new from Chimera Miniatures. Now, when it comes to collecting, I'm not just a minis guy. I also love collecting statue figurines of anime characters. Whether it's a badass action hero or just some big titty waifu, I love me some high quality anime statue figurines. Problem is, those things are so gosh darn expensive. You're possibly spending hundreds of dollars on something that's just going to sit on a shelf. One of the things many collectors like myself do is we order unofficial Chinese versions of these figures. Now, for the most part, these quote-unquote bootlegs, they're not too much different than the ones that you would get officially in the store. I mean, these things are all made in China anyway. It's really not that hard for a factory to just pop out a few extra ones. But here's where the issue comes in, is that typically people selling these items, you're just going to see stock footage of the official Japanese product, and you're really not going to know what your item's going to look like until it gets there weeks later. And why would you want to spend weeks waiting to be disappointed? So what I've been doing is I have been ordering up these figures off of eBay, AliExpress, wherever I can find them. I get them in, I wait the weeks, the wait is on me, and then I look at these figures and I assess them. If they're good to sell as is, I'll sell them directly to you, and you'll get them in days, not weeks. But if they just aren't really the quality they need to be, that's when my skills as a miniature painter come in, where I will modify these pieces in order to make them better for your collection. So you're still getting a high quality piece, but at a price you can afford and feel good about. And plus, you're not waiting weeks. Also, all images on my eBay and Etsy, links in the description, are of the actual item you're buying, not stock photo images. So now, thanks to Chimera Miniatures, you can build your collection with the confidence of knowing exactly what you're going to get. Any items I modify will have an extensive list of what has been modified listed in the item description. Also, if you see something for sale and you'd like it modified in an additional way, just message me. Maybe I can help you out. But now you can be rest assured that the item you get will be quality and at a price you can afford. That's the Chimera Miniatures promise. So without further ado, let's get into the story of Old Man Henderson. I first heard this story years ago on SoundCloud, and I loved it. I shared it with everybody, and recently I saw another YouTuber had decided to narrate the story, so I thought, you know what? Let me take a crack at this. Now, I have learned there are director's cuts versions of the stories, but maybe we'll save that for another video. Today's is going to be the story as I heard it all those years ago. Now, what Old Man Henderson is really a story of perseverance, where how a absolutely batshit crazy character concept managed to win the Call of Cthulhu, and is a story of triumph of players over terrible game masters, which is something my game players never need to worry about, as they have an amazing game master. But, not everyone has such a talented and handsome game master as myself, so some people need to bring in the Old Man Hendersons of the world. Can we get some fan art up here of Old Man Henderson? Gee, I wonder why I like this character so well. But anyway, let's start with the origin of Old Man Henderson.
Alright then. I'd like to start by saying that the GM was a bastard that had it coming. Bullshit tactics to make everyone go crazy, like a D6 with only 5 sides. No story, no reason. Lose 10 sanity. The others continued to allow this faggotry. We were playing a modern-day setting, with the other players being a college professor who found a couple of stray pages of a copy of the Necronomicon and wanted to find out just what the hell it was. A detective who was investigating a missing persons case connected to the local cult, and a local athlete, I think it was football, trying to find out why some of his friends seemed so distant lately. And then there was Old Man Henderson, who was never given a first name. Now, Old Man Henderson was already a little crazy, and blamed his life's misfortunes on Vietnam. He never went to Vietnam. He was 12 in 74, and I will be fucking amazed if anyone gets that reference. Old Man Henderson wore combat boots, cargo shorts, and an open front Hawaiian shirt with a wife beater underneath. He was dyslexic and had a lesser case of schizophrenia, allowing him to assume that the reason he saw crazy shit was because he was a little bit crazy. He had a Grizzly Adams beard and wore his hair in a mohawk. He never took off his aviator shades for any reason. He had a stuffed parrot on his shoulder named Rupert that he constantly asked for advice, while ignoring the other party members as convenient, assuming they were hallucinations. He had an automatic combat shotgun he knew how to use. He had also memorized the Anarchist Cookbook. He started the game with a pre-existing hatred of religion, cutlery, and books. His motivation was that he thought the cult had stole his lawn gnomes, while he had actually donated them to a charity auction, got high, and forgot about it. Most importantly, he had a 320-page backstory that justified everything, from his casual knowledge of physics to his ability to speak Portuguese flawlessly. You can just imagine the sort of shenanigans that character was involved in. The point of having such a long backstory was threefold. 1, to ensure the GM would never actually read it. And 2, since he would never read it except for in excerpts I pointed out to justify things, I could rewrite and change things around completely at random, without anyone noticing, and most importantly, 3, to convince everyone that I was serious about this character, and that it wasn't simply the game-wrecking bullshit that it was. Dickish, yes, but he really did have it coming. First outing of the group, the detective was spying on the building of the cultists with a camera. The jock was parked nearby, waiting for the group to let out so he could snoop it out. The professor had joined the cult to try and gain information. Old Man Henderson very calmly parked his car, got out holding the shotgun in clear view of anyone who happened to be looking, in this case the detective and the jock, strolled up to the front door and kicked it in. While everyone just kinda stopped in shocked silence for a moment, he leveled his shotgun on the lead priest cultist guy and yelled, "Muckle durmd culty ere nomblies be keeping me wee men!" Did I mention that he had a nigh incomprehensible Scottish accent that came and went as he drank and or as amused me? The leader couldn't understand his simple request to return the law gnomes. He assumed he was trying to cast a spell on him in an elder tongue, and summoned a Shoggoth by murdering one of his fellows. One Molotov, and about 20 rounds later, the Shoggoth is dead, as is the cult leader, the professor, who made the mistake of trying to play peacemaker amid murderous rampage, and about 10 assorted cultists. Old Man Henderson then pissed on the Shoggoth's corpse, got back in his battered 92 Buick Century, and went home. The whole event was over in about 10 minutes game time, and nobody thought to get the Buick's plates. The building burned down shortly along with about half of the written plot, and every lead either of the other surviving players had. The GM called a break then to figure out how to fix and or work around what he just did. It only got crazier from there. Now it's time for what will forever be known as the tanker truck incident. Notice how "the" is capitalized. This is because no matter what incidents in the future may involve tanker trucks, this is the definitive one. It started out innocently enough. Old Man Henderson left the stakeout in a van outside the evil cult's meeting place to go get some hooch. The only people left there were the detective and James Fink, the professor's second character. Jimmy was gone because it was a school night. Old Man Henderson was a bad influence, but damned if he didn't have the kid's best interests at heart. The cultists see him leaving. He had a very distinct appearance after all, very useful in scoring TPKs, and discover his friends spying on them. The detective gets a pretty gar death, and James dies like a bitch, but not yet. Old Man Henderson is on his way back, walking along. The detective and James have been brought inside as part of a ritual to give Hostur an avatar in our world. Hastur had been banished, and the only way he could come here is via a loophole. He could only use his hosts people who knew he existed and had thwarted him thrice. And then he had to make them drink the lifeblood of their closest friend to make the binding permanent. In case you're wondering, permanent binding equals game over. The first part of the ritual was completed, but before Hastur could take control, the detective broke James's shackles and he tried to run. He made it as far as the street when the detective, now Hastur, caught up with him, part demon form. Now where this church, for lack of a better term, was located, was at the end of the road on a T-shaped intersection. There was a gas station about 3 blocks away, which is where Old Man Henderson was while this was going down. Old Man Henderson sees the shit hit the fan, and steals a half-full tanker truck that was refilling the station's holding tank. While he brought the truck up to ramming speed, he tossed a 12-pound block of C4 into the passenger seat and rigged the detonator to the airbags. Old Man Henderson then took a bracing shot of whiskey, jammed a knife through the gas pedal, then jumped out of the truck onto his Heelys. Yes, he modified his combat boots to have Heelys. I swear to God, I had not planned this to happen. The Heelys just sounded like something fucking ridiculous and in character. He watched the truck ram the detective into the church, then blow him and all the cultists to kingdom come. The truck also killed James by running him over. That's when the back trail ignited, fire going all the way back to the gas station and destroying it, continuing his streak of accidentally destroying anything that might lead people back to Old Man Henderson. He took a moment to call Jimmy.
"Henderson here! Figured out what the nasties are weak against!"
"What's that, Mr. Henderson?"
"Point blank annihilation!"
Dropping the yacht, Old Man Henderson, with his erstwhile companion Jimmy the Jock, and his friends William Brocklaw, a once humble bartender, the now dead detectives player, Old Man Henderson burned down his bar on accident and blamed it on the cultists. One bluff check later, and he was in the posse. And Simon Breckenridge, British spy. The professor's player, now 6 characters in, and yes, they were more or less all killed by Old Man Henderson. Old Man Henderson had discovered that there was not one cult to the Elder Gods, but several. This complicated his search for his gnomes/crusade. He decided to enlist help in making the problem solve itself. Using his contacts, Simon discovered that an influential cultist of Hastur was coming to town to try and figure out how an avatar of his god was killed. He also located the exact dock on which he would be landing his boat. Jimmy, meanwhile, discovered the home of the head of the local Cthulhu cult was at a penthouse suite downtown. A plan was hatched. Old Man Henderson used all his cunning to steal a military cargo helicopter. Reed, he shoryukened the pilot and flew off, and hid it in an abandoned warehouse. Jimmy and Will set up a very expensive surround sound system at the docks, while Simon made and planted a lot of smoke bombs. That night the yacht pulled in, and we made our move. Right as Simon maneuvered the helicopter over the docks, we set off the smoke bombs and activated the speakers. On one side, a 50-piece marching band playing God Save the Queen at max volume. On the other, the audio from the beach scene from Saving Private Ryan. Imagine for a moment what being on the dock would have been like. Utter fucking chaos. Old Man Henderson jumped down from the helicopter onto the boat and rigged it to lift out of there, during the course of which he ran into the cultist guy and ninja kicked him in the head, knocking him tail over tea kettle and off the boat. I later learned that he broke his neck in the fall. Damn convenient, otherwise he may have been able to ID me. We then lifted the boat out of there, switched out to secondary audio on all sides. My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. I was in a vengeful mood. Gnome-stealing bastards. So when the cultists finally got the smoke to clear, their yacht was gone, their leader was dead, and Celine Dion was stuck in their heads. Not the best of days. Then we went across town in a stolen military cargo chopper, carrying a 40-foot yacht and parked the helicopter above the penthouse, with the yacht about 80 feet above it. We cut the line, jumped out with our parachutes, and watched the yacht ruin a dinner party while placing bets on whether the military would save the chopper, blow it up, or if it would hover there until it ran out of fuel. Hell on ice. Okie dokie. We were in the endgame, with zombies and shoggoths chasing us. I managed to get Jimmy disappeared, so it was Old Man Henderson, Simon, and Will going to the final strong point we had, an abandoned hockey stadium. On the way there, we had rammed through a small home and garden store in our truck, and when we arrived, we started barring the doors and windows when I noticed something. Our trip through the store had netted us a passenger, a single lawn gnome. Somehow, I knew right then that this was it. No lucky turn of fate, no deus ex machina. Old Man Henderson was going to die. But I'd be damned if it wouldn't be the best fucking last stand ever. I then revealed to the GM that Henderson was a world champion figure skater, hockey player, and golfer. The backstory of Doom got one final use. We had almost got all of the doors barricaded, but the zombie Shoggoth army kicked in the last door and got Simon. Will was pulled off the Zamboni after he managed to throw the crate onto the ice. The crate full of exploding hockey pucks. Lasted a couple of minutes while blasting Bust a Move by Young MC before the situation resolved into totally fucked. I switched to the next track as I yelled, "Huster! Huster! Huster!" The next track came on. It was the Canadian national anthem, which Old Man Henderson began to sing proudly, at the top of his lungs. I then threw out the 3 pieces of knowledge that marked Old Man Henderson's blaze of glory. 1. Calling Hastor's name 3 times will summon him, but only if the one who is calling it at the time is his truest foe. Guess who? 2. When an elder god is summoned from beyond, they suffer a sort of summoning sickness. They're still unbelievably strong, but can be killed forever if you hit them hard enough. And 3. The building had enough explosives wired to make Michael Bay blush. And that, my friends, is the tale of how Old Man Henderson won Call of Cthulhu.
Well, guys, I really hope you enjoyed that story today. It is one of my favorites, and I'm glad I got to share it with you today. If you liked what you heard, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're feeling really generous, check out my links. Buy a mini, buy an anime fig, whatever you can do. The more things I sell, the more videos I make. As always, though, I just want to thank you for joining me today. My name is Mr. Sean. This is Chimera Miniatures' official YouTube channel, and I hope you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.